Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting to order tonight. Dr. Thomason, roll call.
Vice President Kaler, or members of the board, please let the record show that we have 4 board members here tonight. President Reese was unable to make it tonight due to family situations, and so she sends her regards.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to go on to our moment of silence before the Pledge of Allegiance. So I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Any questions or concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And now we're going to move on to our superintendent's report. Dr. Thomason.
Vice President Kaler, tonight we have 2 of our secondary programs here to celebrate with us tonight. And so at this time, I would like to invite Michelle Reese to introduce our Points of Pride schools for the night. Michelle.
Thank you, Dr. Thomason. Governing board members, Dr. Thomason, cabinet, and our community, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Tonight, we'd first like to bring up our wonderful principal over at Higley High to introduce his Points of Pride, Mr. Alan Fields.
So I want to first bring up our certified employee, Shiloh Burney. Shiloh is the department chair for the counseling department at Higley High School. She's taken on new tasks with a can-do attitude. She's made a terrific impact on our counseling office. Her experience and knowledge make her a positive addition to our school, but her biggest impact is her kind heart. She's a genuine desire to help every student, and she's passionate about building a counseling department with systems in place to help all students succeed. She's a positive presence in the counseling office and a selfless leader who is always invested in making decisions that benefit students and staff. She works hard to cultivate a climate of collegiality and efficiency and is always willing to review and better process and procedures. Congratulations, Sean. Next up, our classified employee, Fred Schmidt. Fred is a hardworking individual who goes above and beyond to make sure Higley High School is kept clean and in good repair. He keeps our campus functioning smoothly each day by doing hours and hours of work behind the scenes before most of us wake up for the day. He gets here around 4 a.m. and immediately goes about making sure the campus is ready for another busy day and night of activity. He brings a wealth of knowledge and skills to his role as foreman and is always willing to lend a hand. Fred not only gets the job done, he gets the job done right and without hesitation. His positive example of hard work, professionalism, and organization makes all who work with him know how lucky we are to have him on our Higley team. Next up, our volunteer, Allison Day. Allison has been a positive leader, volunteer, and booster for several years. She devotes numerous hours of her personal time, constantly seeking ways to give back and help Higley High School. She's the president of our School Booster Club, the United Kingdom. Allison is a devoted supporter of our school. She's passionate about improving Higley High for our current students and students yet to come. She recently has been leading efforts by the club to improve campus facilities and is planning a new Knight statue for our impending 20-year anniversary. Allison is invested in Higley High and is always willing to support the Knights, students, and staff through leadership and volunteerism. We're lucky to have her as part of our school community. Her volunteer hours for our school and community are likely too many to count, and we're lucky to have her as part of our school family. And then our student, Ethan Cunningham. Ethan is a senior at Higley High School. Ethan is a student leader in both word and deed. After our homecoming bonfire, Ethan, on his own, stayed and helped clean up the event without being asked. He's a student council officer that is consistently seeking new and fun ideas to increase student pride and student engagement on campus. Ethan is involved in Unified Sports, where he is a student favorite due to his big heart and constant smile. He's also active in our new wake and surfboard club and practices what he preaches about getting involved in several aspects of Higley campus life. Ethan has a positive impact on campus that will be felt long after he graduates.
Actually, none of my family was able to make it tonight. My dad's at work and my mom's out of town, but I'm here. They're all here in spirit, so we're good.
Allison, who'd you bring?
Allison and Ethan, can you come forward just a little? Yeah, there we go. Yes, forward just a little and fill in the back. Sorry, the photos need to be a bit more. There we go. Brilliant, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fields. Tonight, we also get to honor our students and staff and volunteers from Sossaman Middle School. Mr. John Dolan, principal.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Let's have Bernie Canas. Why don't you come up here first? So it says the term volunteer, that's an understatement. Her daughter goes to our school, and she is there very, very often. So helpful. In the card that I wrote her, our school cannot run smoothly without the help of parents and their organization, et cetera. And this year, I said it to our staff this morning, it's just been less hectic, more organized, and it's just a total credit to you. So thank you very, very much. Who's with you today?
So I have my mom, my husband, and of course, Gabby.
Emmett Rhodes. Come on up here, buddy. So Emmett, year 2, up in our front office. So that's really how I know him more than in classrooms. And that is what I see every day, that smile. And he is just such a pleasure. The real reason why I wanted him to be recognized is for the things that he does for us up front. So it's labeled teacher's assistant, but we changed the name to peer tutor. And so it's, if you are good in math, you can be a peer tutor. He's good in math. And anytime I bring a kid up and say, hey, Emmett, will you work with him? Yeah, sure, no problem. So it is kind of a study hall for him, but out of the 5 days a week, 80% of the time he's helping a kid with math, and he does it with a smile on his face. And I cannot thank you enough for the things that you do for us. Last thing, my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you guys moved, right? Yeah. So technically, he could have gone somewhere else this year, but I assume he chose to come back here, so we appreciate that. So who's here with you?
I have my mom, my sister, my brother, and my dad here.
Hopefully they're proud of you too. Mr. Martineau, come on up here, sir. So I had the opportunity to start with Aaron. He was a student teacher on our campus. So student taught science. Then we had a science opening, and he has been teaching science on our campus for the past 3 years. And besides being a phenomenal teacher, he's just a phenomenal person. And I mean that. I brought it up today. Last year at the end of the year, and he may do this every year, I have no idea, but I found in the parking lot a note. And it's a little card that he gives to every single student at the end of the year that thanks them for being his student. But also it says, it says something to the effect of, I hope that I made you feel, and ... And just hearing that, I was thinking, wow, man, this guy just absolutely gets it. What it's about kids and them feeling comfortable in class. So besides all the other things you do on campus, sir, I thank you very, very much. Who's here with you?
So I have my lovely wife, Beth. She just got off an airplane, so I'm glad she made it. My son, Britton, my daughter, Tenley, and my daughter, Braylon, all go to Santan. So.
And I did it last because she's probably more embarrassed, would be my administrative assistant, and that's Angie Markling. I won't hug you. Honestly, the title might say principal on my door, but I could not do the job on this campus if it wasn't for this person. Those of you that know her or work there, the organization, the care for people, the time she puts in is unbelievable. And I said, and I truly mean, I would not be the person that I can be if it wasn't for her. So I thank you very, very much. Who do you have here with you?
I have my friend Emmett. I like Emmett. And then my husband's at home recovering, but I have a bunch of Sassman family here.
Well, everybody here, I thank you guys all for what you guys do for our school.
Usually there's a mass exodus now. Go ahead. It's okay.
It's okay, you can leave.
So for what we have coming up for the rest of this week and next month is on Friday, October 25th, we do have our superintendent's visit where we'll get to meet Mr. Armstrong and his great school at Coronado Elementary, so we're looking forward to that. Then following, in 2 weeks, we have our governing board work study at 5:30 here on November 6th in the boardroom, and then November 11th would be our first holiday of November, Veterans Day, with no school on that day. And then Wednesday, November 20th, we have our regular governing board meeting here at the district office at 5:30. And then on Thursday, November 28th, and Friday, November 29th, we do have our Thanksgiving break with no school. So at the end of this week, we will be 1/3 of the way through our school year already.
Hard to believe. Thank you, Dr. Thomason. Moving on, are there any board comments?
Vice President Kaler. I'm Mrs. Wilson. We were.
Reese always sits
I
to my
know
left.
we're a little off today. We feel a little weird. A few of us got to attend Williamsfield last Saturday and got to see their baseball batting cage. Is that what it's called? Opening, and that was very nice to see those families that had worked really hard to get that. And then last night, Mrs. Kaler and I don't know if anyone else was there, were at Mrs. Reese was there as well. We were at Higley High School for the band competition, and both schools did an amazing job. Thank you. That's all I have.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Wilson. And coming up too, in just a couple weeks, we have a big football game coming up. So I hope everybody comes out for the Williamsfield and Higley friendly rivalry. Moving on, any requests to speak, Mrs. Reach? No? Okay, so we're moving on to 6.0. I move that we approve consent agenda items 6.1 through 6.17. Any questions or comments? Mr. Glover.
Yes, thank you, Madam Acting President. I'll do 6.13 first because I think that's a bit of a softball, and then come back to 6.11. So in item 6.13, just for the committee, this is the first read. In there, in the third paragraph, the word sick is crossed out and it is replaced with general, which is great, I get it, but directly above that, it says employees accrued sick leave, and I think, unless I'm wrong, I think you mean to also make that general leave. So maybe, if that's true, you can discuss it and bring it back for the second. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Good. And then to item 6.11 is a first read of staff participation in political activities. And I just want to say that, to remind our teachers that on their own time, as private citizens, I would want them, like I would want anybody, to be active in civic life. And, when I read, I know we have to do it, and I know there's year after year, there's more and more policies that start with the default that teachers are somehow trying to indoctrinate kids, and we're really I resent it because we're really teaching them to think. And I was talking to some people before, just because I like the Pittsburgh Steelers doesn't mean I'm going to be able to convince a kid to like the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in government and civics and all the things that we want them to do and to be active, you have to have vibrant discussions. And it just seems like the people that we elect don't trust our educators to be professional, and they keep making laws to try to restrict the discussions that really a free democratic society you would want them to have. But anyway, that's a rant about that. But I just want to call your attention to the last bullet point in there, and just maybe ask the policy committee to make sure that they don't mean what I think this means. There's the last bullet point in there, if you could. Yeah, there you go. Students may not be involved in writing, addressing, or distribution of material intended to influence the outcome of an election. Okay, but part of the new ELA standards and the social studies writing and thinking standards is writing argumentative essays. And I would think as a social studies teacher, I would not want to be prohibited from a student being informed about an issue and writing to the president. So if that doesn't mean the way I'm reading it, but I think we want to make sure that we're not restricting that, because we want kids to take positions, and we do want them to be in touch with their legislators. I don't think you want the teachers to direct them what to write, but I do think we want them to be active. So maybe you could have that discussion. If I'm reading it wrong, it wouldn't be the first time I'm wrong, but I want to make sure that we're clear on that, and our teachers are not afraid to address things when kids bring it up, like, climate change. And if they, you would want to tell a kid to address that to their elected official. So anyway, if we could have that, just clarify that for me for the next read, or change it if you need to. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Glover. Any other questions or comments? So all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. So we're going to move on to our action and information items. Number 7.1, Governing Board Monthly Financial Reports. Mr. Holland again provides us with beautiful, detailed financial reports. Are there any questions or concerns? No. Thank you again, Mr. Holland. So now we're going to move on to a very exciting presentation from our town of Gilbert. So I welcome to the floor these two fabulous ladies. And please introduce yourselves, and the mic is all yours.
It's greener now. Perfect. Okay, great. Thank you. I'm Catherine Lorbeer, and I'm the principal planner for the town of Gilbert. And also here tonight is Ava Kutro, and Ava is the planning manager over our division. So we're here tonight to share a topic about the general plan. So did you know that the town's long-term growth and development is carefully thought out years in advance, and it's all because of the general plan. The general plan is a policy document. It thinks long range, and it guides our decisions about future growth. It contains issues about housing, about land use, circulation, parks, open space, design, and even conservation. So state law requires that the town adopt a general plan every 10 years. And the voters must approve that plan and have it be actually on their ballot to ratify. So because of that, and because of these requirements, for the last year or so, we've been engaging with residents on updating the current general plan. One of the first things we looked at was the vision statement that's in the plan today. And while we only made some minor tweaks to a couple words, we really feel that this vision statement continues to represent the direction that Gilbert wants to go. And you'll notice that we want to continue to thrive as a town and focus on things like a vibrant business climate and excellent educational opportunities, and even things like enduring architecture and design and having efficient transportation. Something that's new to the plan is we kind of took a fresh look at how the plan was actually going to be organized. Currently, under state law, we're required to have a series of elements, and each of those elements were their own chapter. For example, there was a land use chapter and a circulation chapter. And what we thought we would do now is really organize the plan around 3 broad interconnected themes. And those themes are community, opportunity, and connectivity. And we really feel that those themes will make the plan much more cohesive. It'll eliminate a lot of the redundancy in goals and policies that we found in the existing plan, and it'll also make the plan just much more relatable to the public. So here are some of the community goals. So we want to focus on encouraging a balanced land use framework, promote our neighborhoods, provide diverse housing, quality housing, and also celebrate our history and culture. From opportunity, our goals are to encourage job growth, to promote health and wellness, and even focus on protecting our natural environment. And lastly, for connectivity, our goals are to effectively manage congestion, enhance travel safety, and even plan for new technology. So right now, we are in the process that's called the 60-day review period. And that launched on October 7th and will end on December 6th. So right now we have the draft plan is posted out on our website. We've notified all of the agencies for comment in our region, and it's also available for the public to provide comment. So now is a great chance to go out there, look at the document, see how it's organized, and provide us written comment. We're also holding tomorrow actually a workshop at our South Area Service Center, which is down on Greenfield Road and Queen Creek. And that will be an interactive opportunity for the public to come and learn more about the plan and again, offer us feedback, which we welcome. As I mentioned, this plan will be on the August primary ballot for the voters to ratify. And if you want more information, I've offered the website there, gilbertaz.gov at General Plan Update. There's also a fun short YouTube video that just kind of gives you a brief on what is a general plan. So that's really all I have for you. These are our contact information. If anyone wants to reach out, if you have feedback on the plan, please get it directly to me. And we really welcome that, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say we are so thankful for our partnership that we have with the town of Gilbert in our schools, with our mayor, with our council members. So thank you so much for presenting this to us. And does anybody have any questions or concerns? Well, I have one. So on the bottom of the last slide, it says becoming the city of the future. Mm-hmm. So is that your new like State of the Union type of state of the town phrase, or are you looking to become a city, or what is that leaning towards?
Well, what that represents is the new mission statement for the town, that we're focused on becoming the city of the future. I don't think there are any plans to not be a town. We still love being the town of Gilbert, but just having that attitude of being forward-thinking, being innovative, having that match with our day-to-day decisions, so that we're thinking long-term and also that we're out there looking for ways to become better and contribute to our citizens. So it's just really encompasses more of a direction that the mayor has asked us to look forward to.
Well, thank you again so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Vice President Kaler?
Yes, Dr. Thomason.
I just wanted to say that I was honored to be part of this committee. This has been over a year in the making, and education was a large contributor to the plan for the town of Gilbert, and we have looked at all aspects of education and our partnership with the town of Gilbert in every way. And so they have really considered education, and Higley is the premier district in the town of Gilbert.
Yay.
Thank
We'd
you
like
so
to hold
much.
that title. Thank you again. Appreciate your time. Okay, we're going to move on to our next presentation. And this is going to be a review from Dr. Holland on our, Mr. Holland. Did I just call you Dr. Holland?
That's okay.
You know, it's a nice title.
I like the title.
Anyway, take it away. My presentation isn't loading on my iPad either, so we're not alone.
What was your presentation?
It's
this is
trying.
Bond and override. Doesn't look like the saved one on here. And I didn't bring it on a flash. There.
I know. Oh, there mine. Mine came up.
The one time I don't bring a flash drive.
He's got us covered.
Okay, it looks like we finally have something working. Okay, so before we get started with all of the boring details, I have a few jokes for you tonight, so we'll see if any of these make you laugh. We'll try. Okay. So one of them was, what did the ghost spread on his bagel? Screen cheese. So thank you, Mr. Pepper, for that joke. So the next one is, what's it like to be kissed by a vampire? It's a pain in the neck. And then I have one more. Why was the Scarecrow given the Nobel Prize? Because he was outstanding in his field. Ba-dum-bum-bum. Well, at least some of them made you laugh. My poor staff, they get taxed with, find me jokes, hurry. So,
I like that they were fall and Halloween.
fall and themed.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Tina and Ryan. So, good evening, Vice President Kaler, members of the board, Dr. Thomason, cabinet, distinguished Higley community. Tonight I have for you a quick presentation on our maintenance and operation or override and our bond expenditures for the 18-19 school year. So our override it's a 15% maintenance and operation override, which was approved by our community in November of 2015. And our bond was approved by our community in 2013. So per state statute, we are required by ARS 15481 that requires the district to hold a public meeting each year to update our community on how we utilized our 15% override during the previous school year, so in 18-19. On the ballot, we had asked our community with regards to the override for 5 specific categories. So we had asked for the override to be able to fund increase for teachers' compensation, to be able to maintain and improve some elementary specials, provide staffing to reduce class size averages, as well as be able to support our gifted SPED and all-day K program, and to provide additional educational resources to our classrooms. Last year, the budget was a little over $10.4 million was funding that was available. We utilized those funds accordingly. So we spent a little over $2 million for increased teachers' compensation, a little over $620,000 for maintaining and improving elementary specials. Provided staffing to reduce class sizes, a little over $3.9 million. Support gifted SPED and all-day K, a little over $2.8 million, as well as additional resources for classrooms, a little over $1.3, bringing us to a total expenditure last year, a little over $10.7 million, which you'll notice is a little higher than what we originally had planned revenue for, which that overage was covered by the district's M&O budget. Next, I want to look at our bonds, the bonds that I referenced that were approved by our community in 2013. Again, same sort of statute reference, 15491 requires the district to provide an update of how those bond dollars were spent in the previous school year. The ask on the ballot was approval for $70,580,000. Those bonds were sold over a 3-year period of time. So for example, in 2014, the district sold the first bond for a little over $25.7 million. In 15, we sold the next bond for $19 million. And then in 16, the last sale was a little over $25.7 million, again, bringing you to the $70,580,000 approved by the community. To date, we have utilized these funds in very specific categories, which we had included in the ballot. So for example, new school construction. So we had a budget of $30 million. To date, we've used a little over $18.9 million. New buildings for existing school sites, we've spent a little over $4.1 million. Land for new schools, so we've spent a little over $2.3 million. Technology upgrades and improvements for students, a little over $9.7 million. Maintenance, repair, improvements of existing schools, a little over $15.2, as well as purchase some additional pupil transportation, a little over $3.9, some administrative technology, a little over $1.7, bringing us to a total expenditures to date of $56,103,025. To give you some specific examples of how those funds were, or projects that were done in 18-19. So last year, we replaced the football field turf over at Higley High School. We had some fence painting projects, some lighting updates at various of our school sites. We purchased some additional student buses last year. We had some technology upgrades and improvements for some students. We had some parking lot repairs and some new striping that went on at various schools. We also purchased 2 marquees for Cortina and Gateway. So we have been using these bond dollars each year to purchase 2 marquees for each of our school sites, and these were the 2 for last year, as well as we put some new turf in at Centennial and at Gateway. So what I have for you next is some pictures of some of those projects that I had just referenced. So here's the nice new turf that was put in at Centennial. Here's the marquee at Cortina and the marquee at Gateway. The new turf that was installed at Gateway. And here's that nice field that I just mentioned a minute ago at Higley High School. We also had some improvements over at HCPA. So we had a new marquee update, as well as they had some new flooring installed and a new painting update. Looks very nice. Here's that new bus that I just made reference to, as well as the technology updates. So we purchased some additional student computers and we purchased some smart boards for our classrooms. For 1920, these are just some of the proposed projects. So we're looking to construct an athletic center for Williamsfield, as well as to remodel a weight and locker room at Williamsfield. We have a weatherization project, in connection with the SFB for Coronado and Santan. We have some continuing of fence paintings, lighting updates as well. Some flooring replacements, so we have some carpet going in at various new school sites. We also are looking at having to replace the track over at Higley High. And those are just a few of the projects that we have come up with so far to date. Then there's that catch-all, other capital projects to be determined. So what are we doing? We're planning for the future. So the governing board has asked to have 2 questions on the ballot this year for the November election. So the first one, again, we're asking our community to be able to continue our 15% maintenance and operation override. Again, it's a continuation. It's not, so there's no additional tax. It's just a continuation of what has already been approved. We're also asking our community to allow us to repurpose the remaining 2013 bond dollars that we have. Again, it's no new additional tax, so it's not going to cost the taxpayers in either one of these. We're just being able to repurpose those dollars that we have because they're in very specific categories. And so they're in places where the district has resources that their funding is not available. Does that make sense? And of course, we also have established a district website, on our district webpage, we've established a separate tab or page, Your Dollars at Work. So you can always go and look at any bond or capital projects that the district is ongoing or future projects that we are looking into. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Holland. I too have been able to send people to that website, so thank you so much for putting that out there so that we can direct any questions that come to us as board members directly back to that website.
Awesome.
So appreciate it.
Thank you, Michelle.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Reed.
So see, 10 minutes, it wasn't too long.
Wow, is that a record, Mr. Holland?
It is.
Nobody's putting a clock on. Thank you again, and I just hope that our community is able to, see this presentation and be very well informed, so thank you.
That's my hope. Thank you.
Vice President Kaler, our next presentation is from Dr. Don Foley in regards to our course guide process and update.
Thank you.
Dr. Foley.
Am I on? Okay. Good evening, Vice President Taylor, Governing Board, Dr. Thomason, Cabinet, and Community. I am excited to do just a quick update for you on a process that you do every year, but in anticipation of what's coming to you on November 4th, I wanted to make you aware of some of the processes and procedure updates that we put in place with the intention of getting more involved and getting some dialogue with key people that I want so that you know the work that went behind the document that you will be getting on the December 4th date. So one of the very first things we started with was a timeline that we shared in all groups. We shared this with administrators. We shared this with our counselors, our directors, our coaches, our department chairs on, hey, that we were going to be following a process and a timeline to prepare for these meetings that we had with these documents prior to bringing them to you. One of the things that was implemented this year was really going back to the need for processes and procedures. Several weeks ago, we talked about the importance of standards, curriculum, and instruction. The course guide is a direct reflection of that, and the materials that we bring to that, whether they're changes or new courses, need to be thoughtful on all of those parts and pieces from start to finish, because this is truly a K-12 kind of thinking, and even though these are our middle school and high school guides, we're talking about programs and patterns and pathways and options for students and families. There were 2 new forms that were created, and this came from watching how other districts, larger systems, we kind of adapted this to fit our processes. There were 2 new forms. One that was for like course revision. There were tweaks, changes, like new standards, updates that we would track that would go for each area. And then there was new courses, which would require thoughtful layers of feedback from standards to what materials do you need, what resources do you need. These came in the timeline to an instructional coach and to myself and to the principal. You'll notice principal signature, so that communication could happen prior to the first course guide meeting. In other words, coaches, instructional coaches, or myself could have a conversation with department chairs about, hey, there's this proposal. What does this mean? What do you think? What about that? Or we might bring it to the whole course guide. We also had counselors and others involved so that when the conversations happened, there was this opportunity for dialogue. So again, we had these new forms, new processes in place. The other thing we did was created on our staff webpage a place for us to have this documentation and our resources, things like how to get those new forms, what were previous course guides, and again, these were questions and comments that came up from members involved in this. So we had our very first course guide meeting, and in fact, what was nice was there were several meetings together prior to our first course guide meeting where we were co-drafting some worded language and those kind of things together to talk about at our meeting. So this past Friday, we had an awful lot of people. We had our principals, we had our coaches, we had our department chairs or representatives who were part of this forms, and we had counselor, again, representation, so we could talk through these changes, and we kind of went by content group. So we now have compiled some of those changes, and we're working with to get those finalized so that when we bring this to you, you'll get 2 copies. You'll get a clean one, and then you'll get a tracked changes one so you can kind of see what's coming. This was, again, something that we reviewed with them. So there is still work happening. We have a few more course guide meetings, but what we wanted to share with you was this timeline and these processes that we put in place so that you had an understanding of the work that multiple people have done prior to this. So more coming, but just wanted to give you a little visual of the understanding of the work that's been done preparing for this annual task.
Dr. Foley, a couple things that come to mind. We love a timeline. Our board has been asking for some of those more specifically, and so just thank you so much for this very thought out timeline so that we see the process along the way. The other thing that I kept hearing was a process and procedure, and again, a board loves that. We just love that. We love that we can look and see that this document is covering so many bases, and that's going to be forever in print. So thank you so much for that. Does anybody else have any comments or questions for Dr. Foley?
I'm assuming this is very well documented, so if something were to happen to you, we could put someone else in your place and they could pick up right where you left off, correct?
Absolutely. Well, you'll notice now we have that, again, that internal website. And again, these are processes that reside. And what happens too is all of these course forms we hold on to. So you actually know the history of when this was changed, why and where. And you'll notice that documentation is a process, even down to the new course code. So that if we had a course that was modified or changed and there's a new course code, again, all of this is kept with a process. Hence sort of why these forms and things were included.
Awesome, thank you so much. I could see the amount of work that you put in your team. I'm sure
Yes.
a lot more people than just you.
Oh no, this is
So-
this is one of the things I think I'm most proud of. This is a team effort, and I will tell you that the Ed Services team, particularly Virginia Sanchez, has been working her little tail off, keeping track of all of these processes and systems. And they've been awesome. So I actually left Friday feeling pretty proud because this was a whole new process and system and forms and the way we documented it, and the whole team did fabulous. So
Please share
we're-
with them how thankful we are
Okay.
that you have done this, or how thankful I am. I'm assuming everyone else up here is extremely thankful as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Todd, I'm going to thank you as well. I echo everything that they said, and you nailed, as I look through this, you nailed a lot of the things on our strategic plan, a lot of goals all in here, and it's always so great when you can involve the people who have to do the work, and you ask for their opinion. They just feel so valued and respected and part of it, and the buy-in is easier, and so it's yeoman's work, and thanks to everybody. It is very thankless, but it makes a huge difference, so
Yes, it does.
thanks to everybody.
Yes, I was noticing too, the strategic plan on communication, just having that little piece on the website that anybody can go to and like be
Right.
a part of that. That's a
And of
huge
course-
piece.
And of course, on the
Again,
website.
probably Mrs. Reese put that little thing
Yes,
in there. Thank you.
Mrs. Reese and Mrs. McKenzie have been very helpful as we're kind of creating these procedures, helping us to create on that staff part how to access that, even, down, it's important. And so, of course, that will be on the parent-family side when we get these documented, but the working side, the forms, the process, the history, huge. So,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you.
Your microphone, please.
Thank you. Thank you.
Vice President Kaler, Mr. Witovich, that is Dr. Dawn Foley putting those together herself. Also, the theme of the year is processes and procedures.
It shows. Okay, we're going to move on to 7.5, and we are supposed to, as a board, discuss and give direction to our board secretary for voting on the bylaw amendment of the Arizona School Board Association to allow the amendment of bylaws by the affirmative vote of a majority of members' school boards. So prior to this coming out, it used to be a 2/3 majority vote would have to be presented at the delegation. So now the ASBA has come to all the school boards to get their opinions on their vote on making it more of a majority. And I know, Dr. Thomason, we had a good conversation about this. Maybe you can share what your thoughts on it were.
Vice President Kaler, members of the board, Arizona is a pretty large state, and to get 2/3 of school districts together in one meeting has been a little bit of a difficult process for the state board. So they've asked that if they could just have a majority, which would be 1 over 50% of school boards vote, that it would carry the weight to change some of their bylaws, that would be more helpful. Just because of the number of individuals required at 2/3 was very difficult to get that many people involved in the process at the same time.
Mr. Glover, you were there. So what are your thoughts?
I'm glad you're not going to be glad you asked, but I'm glad you asked. I'm a big fat no on this, and I'll probably get outvoted, and that's fine. But I just looked at this. This is a part of the dumbing down of America that we do, and AZ Merit does it. And we tend to we can't get enough people to vote, so let's lower the bar. If we make and write and pass good laws so you don't have to redo them, that would be good. If you make it easy to redo, then won't we just carelessly make laws? Tough. I mean, people should get involved and they should vote. And if they don't like it, participate. But voting is important. And I am just not in favor of dumbing this down anymore. Make good laws the first time. Do it right the first time. My dad told me that growing up. You know how many times I cleaned the garage the second time? And he would say, do it right the first time. Anyway, that's where I am.
I respect your opinion, Mr. Glover. Anybody else have any comments? So, Mrs. Good, it's not a motion that we're voting for, so as a whole board, how do we go about presenting our vote to our secretary?
Mrs. Kaler and other board members, actually, what you would do is, it is a motion, and you can make the motion to direct the board secretary to cast your vote in a certain way. And actually, I would phrase your motion in a positive manner to pass the proposed, and then you can, of course, vote no on it, but you always want to phrase your motion in a positive.
So I'm going to make the motion that we give a yes vote on the bylaw amendment of the Arizona School Board Association to allow amendment of bylaws by the affirmative vote of a majority of member school boards. Sound good? Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
So motion does not carry. Motion fails. Does that mean now, Mrs. Good, that we gave no direction to the Arizona SBA? Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to future agenda items. Does anybody have anything they would like to add to our future agenda items? Our list is quite long, and our next few meetings are going to be quite packed, but if there's anything on anybody's minds, please feel free to share now. So we're going to move on to 9.0. I move to adjourn this meeting.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Have a great evening.
Oh my gavel.